Hello, everybody, and welcome Big Three Sports Talk Show. Back at it again. Another week. We have so much to cover. We have a lot of NBA, we have a lot of MLB, and we have a lot of soccer to talk about. But before that, I'm with my co-hosts Nate Martin and Kieran Costa, and we have our two favorite segments right here. We have This Day in Sports History, and we have Player of the Weeks. Kicking it off with This Day in Sports History.
Actually, I think we're going to start with Player of the Week, actually. I think there's no other person it could have gone to besides Phil Mickelson. Becomes the oldest golfer to win a major ever at 50 years old, which is insane. Last time he won it was about 6 years ago, something crazy like that. If you bet $100 on him to win it, you would have won a $25,000 extreme underdog. Won it at one of the toughest courses in the world as well, at the Ocean Course at Kiawah Island in South Carolina. Hats off to Phil Mickelson, one of the greatest golfers of all time, and a lefty. So shouts out to him. Kieran, what is our This Day in Sports History?
This day in sports history, 2009. Barcelona beats Manchester United 2-0 in the UEFA Champions League final. They are the first team to win the Spanish treble of La Liga, Copa del Rey, and then they take home the Champions League. That was 2009. This is 2021, and the Champions League final is my Chelsea Blues against Manchester City. That will be held on Saturday here on the West Coast at noon. Let's discuss. Chelsea had a pretty easy road, if I may say so myself. They have not looked very good ever, you could say. They barely made it to next year's Champions League. If we just recap the last week for Chelsea, they lose to Aston Villa on the final day of the Premier League, but Tottenham wins, so they grab the 4th spot. They'll play again next year. They beat Real Madrid to make it to this year's Champions League final. They faced Man City, who beat PSG. So that's just a quick recap on both those teams. Man City, of course, won the Prem, so they're riding high. Thoughts on this year's final?
Also, Chelsea has won their last 2 matchups against Manchester City, both of them under new boss Thomas Tuchel, who, hats off to him, has done a great job with Chelsea.
Both of them sort of garbage time Man City lineups the whole time.
But then also, it's still a win against Manchester City, who dominantly won the Premier League and has looked very good this season in the Champions League. But when it mattered the most, Chelsea won in the FA Cup in the semifinals. That was a massive win for Chelsea to get it done. And then they won in the in the Premier League to keep their Champions League hopes alive for next season. And I think people are doubting Chelsea a lot this year. I think they're playing with an underdog mentality, and that's what they've been doing the entire tournament. And it's the Champions League final. There's always chaos, and it always feels like the underdog wins, because last year Bayern Munich was the heavy favorite, and then PSG won. A couple years ago, Real Madrid heavy favorite, and then Liverpool won. So it's a lot of ways.
Bayern Munich won.
What?
Bayern Munich won last year.
No, yeah, you're right. Sorry, I'm tripping.
Maybe PSG won.
PSG was a big favorite in that game because of just Mbappe and everything else. But I'm taking Chelsea. I hate to do it as an Arsenal fan, but I gotta rep the Blues. Captain Christian Pulisic.
I'll be taking the underdog
He's not
here.
The captain of the team.
I'll be taking the underdog here as well. Chelsea, I mean, to beat Man City, they just need good confidence. They need enough confidence. They need a really strong mentality, and a little bit of the luck that's helped them get here. If they have those 3 on their side, who knows? They could probably go for it and win. So I think I'll be taking Chelsea here. Actually, with a pretty interesting fact, even after the final here. Harry Kane's transfer options include Man City and Chelsea, both of them.
Chelsea, baby.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to see.
It's gonna be an interesting summer in soccer.
Yeah, because Barcelona, extremely disappointing campaign from them. Are we gonna get the same drama that we did with Messi? And the fallout from the European Super League is still coming. There was recently
Is Messi coming to the Prem? Is another question.
that the rumor of last year was that he wanted to reunite with Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. That's
Still is this year too.
but still in the play option. But obviously, the European Super League recently came out with some financial reports that showed that FIFA was also kind of backing the idea. From what I heard, New York Times released that a couple of days ago. Super interesting storyline there. But Kieran, I'm assuming you're picking Chelsea, right?
I'm not. Like, you guys know how much of a delusional fan I am for every team that I follow. But this is just unrealistic. Are you kidding me? We beat Man City with two of their starters playing on a minute 92 Tammy Abraham goal. There's no way we beat a fully healthy and rested Man City team. I love Thomas Tuchel and I love what he's done for this team, and they've been great since they got him. But Man City's by far the best team in Europe.
Crazier things have happened. You've shown up clutch in big moments. But let's go over to the other side of Manchester.
They haven't. Last Sunday, the last day of the Prem, was a huge game for them, and they lost 2-1 to Aston Villa. That's unacceptable. There's no way they bounce back against a fully played Man City squad.
Crazier things have happened, Kieran. I'm just saying, especially in the Champions League. There's always drama in a Champions League final. You can expect it. But let's move over to the other side of Manchester, the red side, with Manchester United. Absolute embarrassment today for Manchester United. You're playing against Villarreal, a team who I'm not even sure is qualified for European football next year if the way it played out. But obviously they are now. Yeah, they're sitting 7th in the Spanish league, which is out of European qualifying. But they played in the Europa League final today in Poland. Head after 120 minutes of play, tied 1-1, and then 21 straight made penalties. Everyone on both sides made their penalties, including Villarreal's keeper. And then David De Gea was having a rough night already, missed a couple of what should have been easy saves in the penalty shootout. Goes up, takes his shot, and gets saved by the Villarreal keeper. Villarreal with a huge upset win over Manchester United to seal their.
Does that mean the Villarreal keeper scored?
Villarreal's keeper scored, yes. Yeah, pretty crazy. And it was a very dramatic game. And now I believe, don't quote me on this, I think Villarreal is qualified again for Europa League, if not the Champions.
Yeah. If you win, you stay, right?
Yeah, I've earned the Europa League or on the Champions League. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So very, very great stuff for Villarreal after a poor league campaign. It's going to be a super interesting summer in soccer. I mean, we kind of hinted at it, but I definitely want to follow it a lot this year, considering Euros 2021 going on. That's going to be super fun to follow. And then also, Messi. I feel like this could be the summer that we see Messi leave. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's move over to baseball. Kieran, tell us about baseball.
It's still I guess it's not that earlier in the season anymore, but we're not really going to get into that yet. But there's been a strange phenomenon this year, which I talked about a few shows ago. No hitters. They've spiked like crazy this year, and it's just May. In 2019, our last full season, there was 4. In April and May, there's been 6. That is crazy to see, but that's the new MLB. With every team just trying to hit home runs and not caring about strikeouts, this is something that I think MLB fans need to get used to, and it's going to become a no-hitter's going to lose some of its lore, you could say. It was always a huge thing for a pitcher to throw a no-hitter. I think that's going to become less so, as we've already seen 6, most recently Corey Kluber no-hit the Rangers May 19th. But guys, do you think this was just a 1-month, 2-month blip, or do we think no-hitters are on the rise and we'll see more and more in the years to come?
I agree with you on the fact that no-hitters are on the rise, but I think it's for different reasons. The MLB introduced a new ball hoping to add more excitement to the league, but instead providing an advantage to both pitchers and batters. But instead, it backfired extremely for entertainment value because no hitter's cool, but there's been 6 this year, 7 if we're counting Mad Bum in a double header, but it's just lost so much of its magic. The most exciting no-hitter, the moment in a no-hitter was when Rodon lost his perfect game. That's it. And like I feel like the perfect game is gonna become the new.
That's to a casual fan. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like Kluber's no hitter was
But you're a
insane.
Yeah, that was a big moment there, the no hitter from Kluber. But yeah, I also agree with Kieran that it's on the rise. I actually agree with like all the points that have been made. The new ball and
Teams
everything.
just don't care about getting out anymore. Uh, even 25 years ago, strikeouts was the worst thing for a player to do. Now no one cares.
Is baseball losing its magic? Kieran doesn't want to talk about this.
Yeah, I feel like.
What do you mean? Like it's magic to who? Like
I mean, not more on the positive sides, but more on the negative sides. Like you said, right now the strikeouts were
it's not gaining fans for sure.
I would say it's actually losing fans. I think we're entering a new day and age where player marketing and just players having personalities is valued. And baseball has always been a league that has said, hey, just be a gentleman. You can't show any emotion. We're seeing that a lot with the what was it? The Mercedes situation in the Minnesota White Sox series. That was German Mercedes. That was just a poor look on Tony La Russa.
Who's very, very old. But what baseball's done this season is they're losing diehard fans and not gaining fans. I could record our own 30-minute show on how terrible putting a runner on second base to start extra innings is. I played that way, but I was 7. I'm not on the highest level of sport possible. What are we doing? What is that is Little League baseball rules. Let them play a baseball game.
You would have thought that more fans would have come to the sport after MLB The Show 21 came onto the Xbox platform, allowing for all, gamers to play as their favorite MLB teams, that sort of thing. But it's just kind of been the opposite, where we've just seen a decline in MLB. Like the only reason
I'm still a fan though, so.
Yeah, obviously. And I'm starting to like it more just because, the Giants have had a red hot start, slowing down a little bit after playing a tough series against the Dodgers. Tough series against the Dodgers.
Tough division.
And hats off to the Giants for keeping it competitive over the last couple games against the Padres and Dodgers. They've played them back-to-back weekends.
But we'll talk more baseball as we get into summer. NBA playoffs wind down, and baseball.
I want to say a little bit on baseball just here because I was looking at the standings, and the NL East was something that we hyped up a lot. But looking at it right now, I don't think it's lived up to the hype. Honestly, what are we thinking?
I disagree. It's the best division in baseball.
It's extremely competitive, yes. But
1 through 5 is like a 3-game difference.
Obviously,
this is beautiful.
Oh.
I think the NL East has outperformed the hype. The Marlins haven't fallen off at all.
I know that was something I said in our baseball preview show. I said, hey, don't down.
They will. They are not built for 162. They're built for 60. But I think I would have hoped for more wins from the top teams. But we didn't hype up it would be a great division. We hyped it would be a competitive division, and then it's outperformed anything we would have asked for.
Yeah,
AL East has been really great.
AL East has been really good too. Yeah,
Red Sox will fall off. I'm gonna say it now.
The Yankees sit at the 3, right behind the Red Sox.
Yeah, but the Yankees are gonna come back. It's gonna happen.
Even the AL West, the top 2 teams are the A's and the Astros, 2 games apart right now.
Yeah, that's something.
Angels have been immensely disappointing.
Yeah. Showtime, it's been cool, but nothing else really.
Trout injured, that sort of
bummer. It feels like, and like obviously, with the whole Pujols thing, releasing him, and now he's on the Dodgers.
And then one last quick note before we move on. We all had the Twins in the playoffs. Did we not? We all did. And they're what? You're against the season. They're 10 games under, 15 games under?
8.5 games behind the White Sox.
But how many games under 500? They're playing bad baseball.
They're 9 games behind 500.
Oh no.
So their percentage is of 40.
I'd watch NL West, AL East. Those will be two fun matchups to look at going forward. But let's move on. The NBA playoffs are underway. In about 10 minutes, we will have 2 games from each series. First, let's recap. Then we will be doing a panic meter for the top seeds, 1 through 10. How much are they panicking?
And
2 games
let me
into
just
their
say,
series.
overtime, not overtime actually, but I my bad on that, boys. But Jazz up 138-122 with a minute 50 in the fourth quarter, looking like they have sealed a tie over the first 2 games, splitting the series so far, 1 apiece. Keep that in mind.
Nate, how about you? Can you give the series a quick recap and then we'll go over panic meter for that series?
Yeah. So give me a second here.
I can take the East. You can take the
Yeah, I
West.
can take the
probably.
West. We'll start off with the West. Tie series right now between the Jazz and the Grizzlies. Ja Morant having, in my opinion, the best playoffs out of anybody so far, not only with the play-in tournament coming up clutch for his Grizzlies, not only as a scorer, but as a leader in general, the second-year player stepping up big time. But Donovan Mitchell coming back has proven crucial for the Jazz. And then how about the Dallas Mavericks? 2-0 lead against the Clippers. That was probably the biggest thing that I've seen so far about our predictions being wrong, as we've really doubted the Mavericks. We've really doubted Luka.
We had the Clippers in the conference finals.
Did. And then Lakers tied up the series against the Suns. We knew this was going to be a very competitive series. Chris Paul dealing with an ankle injury right now. Hope he recovers for that, as it's just going to make the series so much better. And then finally, the 3 versus 6. Denver Nuggets versus Trailblazers, tied series there as well. A bunch of competitive series here in the West. And I'm really liking it. So I'm really liking the action so far out of the West.
Yeah, over in the East, we have the Sixers and Wizards. The main story from these first 2 games has been the disrespect from the Philadelphia crowd. Like you can yell, you can scream, but you should never throw your food on a player when he's walking off the court. That's just a bad brand for the fans of basketball. The Nets are just rolling through the Celtics, who have lost both games.
Last game was a 30-point differential.
Yeah, they've lost both games by double digits, and they have not looked very competitive. The Hawks and Knicks, I hyped up the series. We all hyped up this series,
and it's
lived up to the expectations. Hawks win on a Trae Young floater with 1 second to go in game 1, and the Knicks climb back from a double-digit halftime trail. They win game 2 at the Garden. And the final series is Bucks Heat. Chris Middleton hits a beautiful game winner in game 1 overtime. And then Milwaukee wins handily in game 2. So not a very competitive. We haven't seen a lot of competitive series over in the East. But let's move on to the panic meter. Nate, what's our first series?
I want to start with the obvious one. Mavericks Clippers here, tied up. Mavericks versus the Clippers. Clippers, the 4 seed with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, 2 of the best wings in the league. Let's go from 1 to 10. How panicked are we about the Los Angeles Clippers?
8.5. I cannot believe that they're okay. It's the Mavericks are really good, and Luka has been amazing. But I mean, come on, you got 2 superstars on that team. And, after the playoffs last year, you figure something's going to change. Something has to change within the play style. Everyone was hyping up. Everyone was slandering Paul George. And then he comes back and he plays really well during the regular season. But this is a problem with this team. They are not consistent throughout all 4 quarters of the game. The first 3 quarters, they're great. They're amazing. They're crossing up people. They're breaking ankles. They're dunking on people. They have double-digit leads. Quarter 4, they
haven't led in either of their games consistently.
As of right now, no.
Year. Yeah.
I'm not talking about this series. I'm just talking about in general the Clippers, not just this series. Okay. But like even in this series, things are close until the Mavs start breaking away in the second half towards the end of the third quarter, and that's been a very alarming thing with the Clippers here. So yeah, I'd put the panic meter at
the panic meter is like a 9 or a 9.5. Are you
We don't know
kidding
for
me?
sure.
You lost both games at home. You're going to Dallas.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. You didn't look very competitive at all in game one. You put together a late push and to make it look like you lost by like 7 in the end. You've battled back. I'll admit I've been swamped, so I have not watched a lot of this series, but I watched like 5 minutes of the second quarter of yesterday's game, and they were playing very good basketball. I check and they're down 10 like 3 minutes into the third quarter, and it never looked competitive for the second half. So I agree with you. We're seeing the late game problems come up time and time again for the Clippers, but panic meters at a 9.5.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling something like an 8.5, maybe an 8. I think it's definitely stuff to be panicked about, but you still have Kawhi Leonard, and that alone is enough you can't count out Kawhi in situations like these. He's one of the most clutch playoff players that we've seen in the last decade. I don't want us to forget about that legendary championship run in 2019.
You're not going to forget about that.
Yeah, thanks, Kieran. Property franchise out in Minnesota. So
That seemed unnecessary.
it's at an 8.5 for me. Let's move over to another team right here. There's not too many that stand out to me, but how about the Utah Jazz against Memphis? 1 versus 8.
I think it's pretty low because Donovan Mitchell put up 25 and 26 today. Like, my big worry for that team is Donovan Mitchell struggles coming off injury, and he proved that that's not right. Like, this was his first game in a couple months. He played like a solid 26 minutes, didn't really have to play more. He put up 25. If he's scoring a bucket every 2 minutes, 25 points in 26, that's a very good stat line.
He was shooting the ball very, very well. Like, I was like, the first quarter, it felt like he was hitting every single shot he took, especially from the beyond the arc. Donovan Mitchell, not known as a 3-point shooter, but he was a great shooter for the Jazz in the first quarter.
I'm gonna say 6.5.
I'd put it at a 7. Actually, this game is pretty much over. They're up 15 right now.
Yeah, it's official.
So let's say, this game will be over. Game 2 will be over, so it'll be tied 1-1. I'd put it at a 6 to a 7. Either way. What does scare me, like, that first game, that was pretty disappointing. That was a disappointing performance from Utah, and it was an amazing performance from Ja Morant, who is really playing well with Memphis right now. We can't count out Memphis at all, so I put the panic meter for the Jazz at a 7.
I'm putting it at a 5. I don't think it's Memphis's year just yet. I don't think their time has come. They're the second youngest roster in the league. And to already be at this point is scary. To know that Ja Morant is going to work his butt off this offseason. I think we're going to have Ja Morant come out the gates year 3 with hopefully a shot that he's developed. Because, one knack on his game is that he's not the best shooter. I have a feeling he's going to develop a shot that he can hit consistency from beyond the arc. And once that happens, NBA, be afraid, because Grit and Grind's coming back to Memphis, and they're going to be a really fun team to watch. Jaren Jackson as well, balling out. Happy about that. But yeah, this is just not their year. Jazz is playing at an historic level right now. I'm really liking the Jazz in this playoff series. And besides that, there's not really any other playoff series.
Lakers Suns series, but let's do it for the Lakers. What's the Lakers panic meter? Because we picked them to win the series. I would like to do quickly. What's the Lakers panic meter? Just a number. And what's Portland's panic meter? Because we picked Portland to win as well.
Lakers, I'm saying a 4. And the Blazers, I'm saying
Chris Paul injury is big, so I'm not Lakers should be pretty low right now.
Yeah, and then
I'd say Lakers are a 5.
Blazers, I think, are like a 6.5, 7-ish range.
Lakers, Blazers did not look good in game 2.
No, they did not.
They didn't look like they were, like, it was lackadaisical basketball.
And we've seen this burnout happen with the Blazers before in the playoffs. Last year, they were playing out of their minds in the bubble. And then as soon as they hit the playoffs, they just a complete burnout. They win game 1, and then they just choke the rest of the series against the Lakers. I don't want it to happen again to Damian Lillard because he's one of my favorite players in the league. But if it happens, it does happen. They always play their butt off in the last couple games of the season to ensure a playoff spot. And then it's happening again, which is
burnout, I think, was the right word to use that. I'm gonna go Lakers at a 5, Blazers at a 7.5.
I'd put the Lakers at a 5 or even a 6 maybe. After the last game, they really kind of snapped out of it. Anthony Davis had a really bad game one, comes back in game two, drops 34 points. LeBron with 23 that game, and we outclassed the Suns there. But even then, it wasn't exactly a super. It was a close game. So
7-point game.
counting out the Suns is an awful idea. So I'd put the panic meter actually maybe at a 5, or a 6 even, because we can't just take our foot off the gas now. You have to keep it. You have to stay diligent. And as far as the Blazers go, yeah, I'd put that in at a 7. Game 2 was awful. Game 1 they played really well.
Lillard's been great both games.
Lillard has been amazing both
All about
games.
the
So I don't think the losses are on him. It's more on the core and the bench. They're not showing up like they should.
Nurkic has to step up defensively.
Yeah,
McCollum has
there's
to
no
be the second
defense.
option they know he is.
There's barely any paint defensive presence for the Blazers right now. So
And you're going up against Nikola Jokic, one of the best paint players in the league. Like, what do
Yeah.
you think's gonna happen? Let's move on to just some of our thoughts in general. Just some of the things I do want to talk about this playoff so far. It's felt like there's been so many great games this playoffs. Hawks versus Knicks, game 1 and game 2. Both of those games have been really, really fun to watch. Maverick series as well has been super fun to watch, I feel like, because of Luka just taking over. But I really want to talk about the Knicks because this is really the first time in my lifetime that I've seen the Knicks playing in the playoffs, just because we didn't really get playoff basketball out in Australia when I lived out there when I was younger. That was the last time they won the playoffs with Carmelo. But it just feels magical to have the playoffs at Madison Square Garden. I don't know if you guys get the same feeling as me, but it just felt raucous in there. It was rocking I don't think they have full capacity yet at MSG. And it felt like the loudest venue I've heard in years with not even at full capacity. What are your thoughts on that? You guys want to add anything to that?
I mean,
Derrick Rose back as well. Derrick Rose had
fun to see Derrick Rose in the playoff.
Yeah.
I of course, Tom Thibodeau, much respect for him. I like what he's doing in New York. Couldn't do it in Minnesota, but that's not
that's not his fault at all.
It's
not his fault at all. You can't do anything.
has to control the
Minnesota.
team.
It's a
Can't
bad
let Jimmy Butler. Can't let that happen with Jimmy Butler.
It's a bad vibe in Minnesota. But are we still feeling? The two teams that have really just asserted their dominance are the 1 and 2 seed in the West and the East, Sixers and Nets. Both of these teams have.
We had both those in 4 though, right? Like,
like 4 and 5 or something like that. Both of those.
This was unsurprising, I would say.
Especially the Nets, because I know, yes, Jaylen Brown is out for the Celtics, but it's still a Celtics
Nets
team
look
coached by Brad.
scarily good when they're all playing.
Yeah. So it's Nets.
I think that,
like,
Nate, I think you were saying this on the last show about like gelling was like the big thing we needed to see with the Nets, or one of us said that.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's only been 2 games, but they look very scary.
4 in the first game, but 130 in game 2 is a good look. And I think they're going to gel. It's going to be a really interesting. I still feel like the conference finals and the Sixers versus the Nets, and that's going to be a very, very competitive conference finals. Probably some of the most competitive conference finals we've seen since Rockets versus the Warriors. So that's going to be really fun to watch out there. Any other thoughts you guys want to mention, Ion?
I mean, overall, I feel that these playoffs have been really, really awesome, especially with a lot of fans back in the stadiums now. Now that they're allowing that, I feel the players also love that more. There's more energy. There's just more adrenaline that goes into their heads when you play in front of a crowd, and there's either booing if you're, the opposing team, or there's a lot of cheering if you're the home team.
Or
And
popcorn in your face if you're Russell Westbrook.
yeah, I know. Russell Westbrook's having a bad time right now. The Wizards did just lose that game, so but
lost, I thought.
no, the Wizards are down 2-0 right now.
They lost by like 30.
Yeah,
it was a blow.
They're not going to beat the Sixers, but they can try.
Yeah.
Bradley Beal needs help. That's about all I can say there. And I feel that there's been a lot of upsets, upset games, which is really fun to see, because like the NBA is running a whole playoff bracket thing right now as well. It's giving me such March Madness vibes with all the with game upsets that we've been having. I don't know why. I can't explain it.
Yeah, you haven't been in the March Madness world long enough. This is nowhere close to March Madness.
Obviously not, because these are 7-game series, But if we're going strictly off of the games that have been won by, Memphis won the first game against Utah. That was insane to me. I saw that and I was like, wow, that's crazy. So overall, I feel that playoff basketball is back, and it's better than last year,
And
definitely.
honestly, out of all the professional leagues, playoff basketball is probably my favorite playoffs. So it's always fun to watch in the summer.
It's a bit long.
Yeah,
Well-
but it's something to look forward to once school's over. Like as soon as you're done with your last final, you're just like, dang, I'm about to go home and I'm about to watch some playoff basketball. I'm about to watch some buzzer beaters, Madison Square Garden rocking, So that's a great feeling to me. Thank you all so much for watching today's show on the Big Three Sports Talk Show. For Kieran Costa, Ion Shaw, I'm Nate Martin. Tune in next week on the Big Three Sports Talk Show.